Okay, so now we have private parties that only the owner can see, but we also want to add the ability to invite other people. So before doing that, let's learn a little bit about AngularJS filters. We'll create our own filter to help us find the users that we can invite. But before that, let's learn a little bit about the built-in filters of AngularJS. So the first thing we want to do is to add a search option. A nice, like a very simple search and filter options into our list. So let's do it like that. Let's load on the parts. Let's add a search input, and let's bind it into a simple search variable, call it search. And now we want to filter our list of parties with that search. So it's very simple, it's a built-in filter. We just need to do that like that, filter, and then write the name of the variable. Okay, let's try it like that. The app is running. So let's go here. And you see we have the search input, and let's write something. And you can see that only it filters immediately the parties, and it's happening only locally. So this is a very simple but common AngularJS filter. It's very fast because it's happening only on the client side. Notice that later on we will learn how to do search also on the server side and in a better way. But for now, just it's locally here. Now, let's also add the ability to change the order. Right now, the order is it's just by IDs, but let's add the availability to change the order of the parties. So let's add a select that will help us to select between, let's say, ascending and descending options. So this will be ascending, and here it will be descending. So let's bind this selection into also a model. Let's call it order property. And here the selection will be binded into the name property. We want to order by the name, and here descending will do minus name, which this is the Angular syntax for the opposite, the ascending and descending. And now let's add this filter after the search filter. So we just can aggregate as much filters as we want, one after the other. And this is also a built-in filter, order by, and order by the order property of the that we defined here. Also, let's add like a default option and make it like ascending. So let's go here to the controller, the parties list controller, and just write scope.orderProperty equals name, and then that way the default value once we get into that controller, the controller will be ascending. Let's test that. See, we have here ascending and descending. Let's try to change that. And you see the order is changing, and also we can search and still change the order because we aggregate two filters. Okay, so those are the built-in filters of AngularJS. There's many more built-in filters, there's many more third-party filters that you can use. But now we want to create a new filter, that will help us find the users that we haven't been, that we can invite to a party. So first of all, we need to expose to our client the users, the existing users from the server. So for that, we need first of all to add a publish method for users. So let's go into our server. Let's add a new file called users.js. And it's going to be very similar to the publish method of parties, but we're going to call it users. And what we're going to send back to the client are not parties, but the meteor.users collection. Now notice that meteor.users collection is a collection that we haven't defined anywhere because Meteor defines it for us when we add the accounts password package. So just exists, and now we need to return it, and we're gonna return everything, and we're gonna return the fields that we want to return are the emails, and the profiles. This is the syntax of the Mongo API. You can read about more in the Mongo API documentation. Now we need to bind to those users in our controller. So we want to add this list into the party details controller. So let's go here. Let's take the collection. We want this time to bind to the Meteor users collection. We want to bind to that specific scope into a variable called users, and we don't want to change that array, so we can write here false because we don't need Angular to observe the Angular changes. It can save performance if we don't want that. We can write here true, but writing false is better if you know you're not going to use it. And we can write here true because we want to subscribe to this publish method that is called Meteor users. So now we have the scope.users variable binded into our users in the database. So let's add a list of our users into party details.html. Let's write here users. Let's create a list. And in each of those lists, first of all, let's use the ng repeat to bind user in our users array, and inside let's just display our users. So we have user dot emails 0 address. This is the way the package builds the profile and the emails of the users. So let's first test that. Let's see if we now see if we go into a party, we see the users. Yes, there's now just one user and it's displayed here. Okay. Now the next thing we want to do is to filter those users into the only the users that we can invite. The users that we can invite are the users that are not ourselves, are not the owner of the party, and they are not invited already. So let's write a new filter. To add a new filter, this is a filter that is specific to parties. So let's add it under parties. Let's add a directory called filters. And let's define a new filter and let's call it uninvited. Put it in an uninvited.js file. Now let's define this filter and put it under the socially, under our app. So let's name it uninvited and let's define it. So let's define that our filter gets users, an array of users, and it gets a party as a parameter. And then if we don't have, let's make sure we have a party. If we don't have a party, return false. If not, let's return. Now we need to filter. We need to filter our users by parties. So the good thing about Meteor is that it gives us a underscore, the library, JavaScript library called underscore, everywhere. It gives us the library in the server and also in the client. So underscore has a lot of really good tools. One of the nice tools they have is filter. Is the filter function. So let's filter users by, and then define by what. You could read more about the filter in the underscore library documentation. So if user.id equals the party's owner, or we are using the contains function of underscore, and inside we're going to party invited. We're gonna define an array of invited people that are invited to our parties. User.id. So if the owner if we are the owner or the party, or we already invited, we return false. Else, we return true. Okay, so this is our filter. Now the way to use it is to edit as we added it before. Let's go to the users list in party details and write uninvited, and then we add the parameter, and the parameter is the party. Now notice that the first parameter is the array that we are filtering, and then the second parameter is here. We can also add a third parameter if we want, and so on. Now let's test it. So right now, before that we would see ourselves, but right now we can't see ourselves because we are the owners of the party. Let's add another user. Okay, now we have another user. Let's log in with the first user. We go into my party, and now we can see that the second user is here, meaning that the filter is working. It's filtering out the people that we can't invite or we don't want to invite. So that's nice. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to add the thing is that sometimes we are logging in as Facebook, and in Facebook we have a different type of user display, meaning right now we're using the emails and the address, but if we're logging in with Facebook, the profile of the user looks different. So we can add here a filter. Filter doesn't have to be on arrays, it can also be on a specific value. Let's call that filter display name. Let's define the filter here again. Let's call it display name.js. It's going to be very similar to the syntax of the uninvited. Let's name it display name. And that filter is going to get a user. First of all, let's delete everything. A user, and then from that user it's going to return its display name. So first of all, let's check if there is a user at all. If not, let's return nothing. Then let's check if the user has a profile name. Profile name means that we're logged in as in Facebook, or in any other way we define the user's name in the profile. So let's see if it has a profile at all, and then also has a profile name. If so, let's return it. If not, let's see if the user has emails. If he has emails, let's return the first email. And its address, like we did before. Else, let's return the user itself. Let's go to our app and see if it still works. Everything works the same because we haven't logged in with Facebook, and this is what we want to see. Angular is also capable of watching and displaying a function output value inside the template. So let's do something like that. Let's create a function that displays, that returns the name of the creator of a party, and let's put it in our parties list. Let's add something like for each party, let's display who is the owner. So let's add something like that, and right here posted by, and here let's call a creator function that takes the party and returns its creator. Now let's define this party, this function in our controller. Scope.creator. It's a function that gets a party, and then first of all, let's check if the parties exists. If not, let's return nothing. Then let's take the owner. Now to take the owner, we want to take the user of the party. So let's define a method called getUserById, which doesn't exist yet. And it will get the parties, it will get a user, so user ID, so we will get the party's owner and we will return the user. Then if we have, and if we don't have an owner, we can return nobody. And else we can do something like checking if this is me. Maybe it's I'm the owner, so then we can display just myself. So we have so we can actually, we have access to the current user. How do we access the current user? We the current user is always active in the root scope. So let's add the root scope in, and then let's check if root scope dot current user exists, means he is logged in. Then if current user.id exists and is not null, and then if the owner ID equals to the current user ID, meaning that this is me, let's return me. If not, return the owner. Now what's missing is another scope function that is called getUserById, so let's define that. Equals function that gets user ID, and it returns meteor users dot find one with ID. Okay, so we're getting the creator. Let's see if it works. The app is running. Let's go to the parties list. Posted by me. Posted by me. Let's sign out and create another party with the other user. You can see also that once I logged out and it's not me, you can see that it posted all the object of the user. So we need to take care of that. We'll take care of that with a filter. So first of all, let's create a few parties. So let's sign in with the second parameter and add second user party to display second. And we want to see it also as the first user, so let's make it public and add it here. Now let's sign out and log in with the first user. You can see the second party is posted, everything is posted by me but the second user party. But here we are displaying the whole user, but we already have a filter to make it appropriate. So let's go here and use our already existing display name filter. And let's see if it works. Posted by nobody. The reason is that Meteor users were not subscribed right now to the Meteor users, so we need to subscribe to that also here, because we only added the subscription in parties details. So let's copy just that over here. Define it also in our scope. Let's try it again. And now we have the email of only the email of the second user, so it works.